And like I said, to this very day, he still lives within me. He's very much a part of my life, as you mentioned earlier.
He'd be remembered as a great coach. Like I say, I mean, my dad let me come up here and play ball for him. That ought to tell you something. He took some teams to the state, too.
You never forget nothing that he done. I coached volunteer for years, and I used what he done, and it worked. It worked.
Robert Allen Ingle, born on July 4th, 1937, was a McNairy County native. Originally from Raymer, Tennessee, Robert attended Raymer Elementary and high school, where he excelled at both baseball and basketball. It was said that he was a pure power hitter on the diamond and an excellent pitcher and catcher. At one point in his baseball career, Robert nearly signed with the St. Louis Cardinals, but failed the physical due to a discovered heart murmur. Robert would then go on to focus on his basketball career. After graduating from Raymer in 1956, he became the first person in school history to receive an athletic scholarship to attend college. Robert spent 1 year at Centenary College before transferring to East Texas Baptist College, where he continued to show off his talent on the court. At East Texas, Robert was named an NAIA All-American. Following his college career, Robert moved back to Tennessee. His first coaching job was at Mickey High School from 1961 to 1965. From there, he took the head coaching job at Middleton High. After a couple of successful seasons, Coach Ingle got the attention of Pickwick Southside and took over their basketball program in 1969. The following year, he married his wife, Laquita, and the two of them started their family. At Southside, Coach Ingle would build a program that would become the heartbeat of the community.
Most of the people at Pickwick would see me at the games. I was a baby that Daddy would bring, and then 4 or 5 years old, know me as Okie. I spent a lot of time at the original Pickwick Southside. He always said this was his favorite of the 4 places that he coached.
He liked to play run and gun offense and then full court press back on defense. And he wanted you to give him all he had, and you would.
You know, when I got a rebound, I knew there was going to be a guard out on the wing on one of them. And then we'd take off. There we go.
We got that ball off a rebound. It was a race to get somebody an open shot, and that took conditioning.
Everybody can tell you how much running we did. I bet we ran 10,000 miles a year.
We'd be tongue hanging out. He was really wanting to get us in shape. That was one of the first important steps of being a basketball player.
You knew the first 2 weeks in practice, you were going to practice basketball about 15 minutes. The rest of the time, you were going to be running laps or running bleachers.
Just in a miracle type way, he was able to make it fun too. Even conditioning, he'd figure out a way to make it fun as you could, because running sucks. In
the second half, you could tell. I mean, we were tired, but we weren't near as tired as the other team, because we knew we had to find that other gear, and we'd just run people to death. It's what we did, and that's how we won games.
The fans that we had wasn't fans of kids playing ball. We had fans coming from everywhere that knew Coach Ingle, and they would fill our gym full when we played ball. I had a guy that he's a friend of mine, and he played for Hardin County, and he told me he hated me when we was in school. And I said, "Why, David?" He said, "Because my daddy would come watch you play at Southside before he'd come watch me." Said he'd miss my games to come up to Southside.
Of course, the biggest games were the Central High School in Savannah at that time.
Pickwick Southside had a high school. Savannah had a high school. Of course, first thing we wanted to do is we wanted to beat Savannah.
We had 79 boys to pick our ball team from, and they had a bunch. They were a really big school.
We drew crowds you wouldn't believe. They'd be parked all around the building, down the highway for a mile. People would walk, try to get to this game. Fire marshal had to stop people from coming in. it was fun between two schools. There was no really hatred or nothing. It was just big rivalry and big game.
Well, we had never beaten them from 55 till 74 was the first time we beat them.
And we put a hurting on them. And then from then on, we beat them regularly, and that was probably one of the biggest things is beating them.
Watching Southside Eagles, I wanted to be a part of that. And sure enough, around my sophomore year, going out for the team and seeing the players, the competitors that they were, I knew I wanted to be a part of something that I didn't quite understand, was buried there myself. And to me, that's when I was introduced and wind up meeting the greatest coach still to me this day as Coach Bob Ingle. Being a foster child at the time, and it wasn't that we didn't have much. We had everything that we needed. But having said that, Coach Bob Ingle did the little things that were major things. After we would come and be driven back to our high school, the bus driver, Mr. Davis, he would throw the coach the keys, and the coach would take us all to our community where a lot of us lived and drop us off. Unbeknownst to you at the time, he cared not just on the court, but off the court as well. And not just in the classroom, but how we carried ourselves out of the classroom.
He was probably one of the greatest men I've ever met. He was more than just a coach to his players. He was more like family.
Coach, he was my best friend and everybody on his team's best friend.
I mean, on some Sunday nights, me and Tony Little, Joe Edwards would go out to his house at Eastview and play rook with him. We used to quail hunt a lot. Coach Ingle would go quail hunt with us. He'd come go dove hunt with us. And he was your coach, but he was that guy that you just wanted to hang out with, you know.
He was stern and disciplined, but he was also caring. We had some students, was less fortunate, and he always cared for them, and he tried to help them as much as he can.
He made sure I always had a pair of gym shoes.
Had it not been for Coach Ingle being in part of my life, I wouldn't have had the courage to be able to go out and take a part of life in a stronghold from a standpoint of being able to win. He taught us how losing is on the way to winning. He simply has remained with me throughout the course of my life, not just in basketball. Everything that he stood for and was, I wanted to become, and that was a coach.
He taught us to try to be successful men, too, after we got out of school. And I'd have to say that he would be proud of us. I think he'd think that he was successful in doing that.
And made everybody that came in contact with him a better person. I mean, you just knew if Coach Ingle liked you, that probably everything was going to be okay because you were doing something right.
By just watching him and being around him and see how made me, I think, a better man today. I wish my grandson could have played for him.
The best thing about him was his ability to make players play. You would put out more for him than you would any coach you ever had. I told somebody one day, they was asking me about him, I said, he's the best coach I ever had. And I mean that.
Coach Ingle could get a lot out of players like me that wasn't that talented, but he could talk you into finding the little talent somewhere or another.
We wanted to make him happy. That's how he treated it. You wanted to do stuff for him. You wanted to do better. You wanted to win. And I think that shows what kind of man he was when he can instill that in a bunch of hard-headed teenage boys and bring them together, That's pretty good.
He wasn't afraid to travel 100 miles to play a great team and get us some exposure. Biggest game, obviously, all-time Southside basketball history was right here in 1975, and they have a player that played college basketball at Ole Miss and later played for the Boston Celtics, a guy named Carlos Clark, who's the best player I ever played against. We beat them 17 points in this little cracker box gym here. We just had one of those nights when we couldn't do anything wrong against a much better team. They were better than us. We weren't afraid of anybody. We just played ball.
After back-to-back seasons of more than 20 wins, the Southside Eagles were about to embark on their most successful season to date. The journey from 1969 to the 1975-76 season was not an easy task. Coach Ingle had finally built up the program at Southside to find sustained success. That year, the team would go on to a 23-8 record, leading them to the state tournament, the first in Southside history.
Probably the sub-state game stood out more than anything because, of course, we won, but we played a good game and we were going to get to go to the state. So that's sort of what we started in the 5th grade wanting to do. It wasn't any one person, it was a whole team. I mean, it usually throughout the season, we knew if we needed to score, we get the ball into Tony Little or Randy Burks.
And thank goodness my teammates told me the ball. I'm just joking. Eddie said I shot too much, but I didn't shoot enough.
He all the time wanted the ball, and he says he never got the ball. But he managed to shoot about 35, 40 times a game. So somebody was giving Tony the ball. I just want him to know that. Okay.
And you want to talk about, like I said, small town USA, but man, can you imagine putting on our warm-ups and going out on that day and standing there and taking that photograph? It meant the world. It was absolutely, ultimately heaven. But to be a part of something that the group and the community coming together to send us off to Nashville, Tennessee. So that 1976 team means a lot. And to this day, when I speak to one of them or someone sends me a message or something, it just brightens my day, truly.
He would have been successful wherever he went. It wouldn't have mattered. I mean, we don't have state trophies hanging all over the place at school, but I think we did pretty good for what being so small. I just wish we could won Coach Ingle that state championship. I'd been sweet seeing him that trophy.
The magical season of 75 and 76 had ended, and a large core of the team was set to graduate in May. The following school year, the success and hard work of building the basketball programs to win a state championship came to an abrupt halt. A community would lose its high school.
We were in Middleton. We got a call, somebody called and told him it was burning, and he drove as fast as he could, and we got here before it was almost burnt to the ground. But I just remember him standing out there crying because he knew what he was losing, but he just hated it for the community more than he hated it for himself. He had started building something. It was getting to where he was wanting it to be, and just hated that the school burning couldn't have come at a worse time.
I remember driving Christmas Eve, driving home from Corinth, and I seen this big water spout. And the closer we got to it, I knew it was a school.
Everybody would come to Pickwick Southside from, the surrounding areas because it was a gathering place. And everybody was just killed because they knew in their mind that was going to be the end of our high school.
It really hurt when we lost our school in 76, and we remembered as the last class that ever graduated from here. And
if I remember anything, was the sadness in the community. Everyone saw it growing, and sports grow the community. Dallas, Texas here, when the Mavericks or the Rangers win big, we win big. The town wins big. No different than Counts and Pickwick, Mickey, or wherever it is. If they win, the town wins big as well. And we felt as if there was something that we would never, or not knowingly would ever get back.
We have lost a lot. A lot of communities have lost their schools, I understand that. Things were going great here, of course, like I guess a lot of other communities, but to this day, I don't understand why they didn't build a school back.
It was hard to accept that to all of us over here for a long time. I mean, everybody's, time heals everything, but everybody was attached to the school, and it was just obviously the pillar of the community.
Following the loss of Pickwick Southside, Coach Ingle accepted the head coaching job at McNary Central. In 1 year, he radically changed the identity of the McNary basketball team by installing the same play style that was at the heart of the success at Southside. Just after starting his second season at McNary, Coach Ingle suffered a heart attack. Due to his health, he was forced to step away from the team. On March 18, 1980, our community lost one of its pillars. Coach Ingle suffered a second heart attack and passed away at only 42 years old.
I was soon to be 9 when he passed, so I didn't have a lot of time with him. They had the visitation inside the gym at McNary Central, but I remember the place was packed on the floor, in the stands, and I may get teary-eyed, but the students started just crying, Coach Ingle. I lost it, but nobody that has ever found out who I was in relation to that he was my dad, they've never said a bad word. It's always been, thank you, I love Coach Ingle. It just makes me proud that he touched people, that he was a good guy, that they love him, that they miss him, and always want to tell me stories about him, and I'll listen to all of them because I didn't have a lot of time with him, so.
And we knew he had heart troubles. One year he sat out because of his heart. Doctors told him his blood pressure, but he come back. He said he couldn't stand it. He gonna come on back and coach. But anyways, it was devastating. But we knew he had trouble. But it was hard.
We lost him way too early, and I wish I'd have got to know him later on in life too. I think that would have been a lot of fun to reminisce and talk about all the great times we had.
What did I say to Coach? Miss you, loved you. Wish I'd done better.
I'd say, Coach, I love you for what you done for us, being so dedicated to us.
I don't really know what I'd say. I'd just hug him and be so proud to see him, and just really tell him how much I miss him.
Well, I'd thank him for a lot of things. I would thank him for being the Indiana Hoosier story and getting us to the state and having that, believing that you could get there and putting that instilling that into us, that we could be better than what we were and play those great teams and have confidence. Because, we were a tiny school. We beat a lot of people we weren't supposed to just because of him.
That I thank him for all the encouragement he did for all of us in the school, especially the ball players, of the work ethic that carried on out in our work careers, and I sure would like to see it one more time. Maybe we will one day.
During my tenure in the Navy, serving, all over the world, I had came back to Tennessee at one year, and I went to find him to be able to tell him thank you, and they had told me that he had passed. So having said that, I never got to tell him thank you. So, that was tough, sorry. So, I don't know exactly what I would tell him. I'd probably put my hand on his shoulder and pat him, probably pat him a little hard like he once had to do me for talking too much when he was talking as a coach. But I certainly would touch him in a way that he would know. When he passed to me, I looked to pass to others. So yeah, Coach.
That I always loved him. I just wish I could have had more time with him. He put me to sleep. He rubbed my back when I was sick. He held me when I was sick. He loved his kids. He loved me. Just wish I could have had more time with him.
What does it mean to me for Coach Ingle to be in the Hall of Fame? Well, it means a lot, not only to me, but to all of Pickwick Southside. I think the committee has, there's no way they're going to be not proud of this. I think everybody they've got is great, but there should be no regrets. Nothing but a first-class guy going in the Hall of Fame, deservingly.
Coach Ingle had given to a community I felt that had been taken away once the school had burned. and the kids our students being transited to different areas, and what was the hope in the future of the Southside Eagles. Everything that was destroyed, that was part of our history, part of our legacy. And I'll say this, to his family, I would say that I know that they miss and they love their father dearly. But I would tell him that the impact that he had on so many of us still exists to this day. That every one of us serve in the capacity that we were meant to serve. And what we do with that life is very important. He served in the capacity to give to people that years later, from 1976 to present, that I still remark time and time again on the impact that Coach Bob Ingle has had on my life. And I say thank you to those that he loved the most, and that was his family, without a doubt. Thank you.
He would just be honored, that Hardin County chose to elect him to the Hall of Fame, and I know he would love to see his players. Everybody that shows up, I know he would just love to sit down and talk to them, just talk basketball with them and ask how they were doing, because he thought of them as sons and daughters, so he would be honored. I wish he could have been here to share it with them, be present. I wish I could have him here to be with him. He didn't have enough time to do what I know he wanted to, and to be chosen to be in the Hall of Fame for the short amount of work that he did, the body of work that he had. It's just, I'm touched that he's being recognized. I'm just glad I'm getting to see it. It's an honor. And it's just having a little bit more time with Dad in a sense. So I'm proud of it.